All right. We get Dynamite opening up with the Moxley World Order in the middle of a desert.
Wow. Sorry.
It. I feel like the desert or whatever dark crevice they're gonna do their opening vignettes in are the same as like the black and white NWO vignettes.
It's just, I like what they're doing with it. And we were talking about this before we started recording. So, originally it's like, what are we doing with this when it's, you now work for me. This is not your company. It's going, I'm getting cult leader vibes. And
it definitely does.
And it may not end up there. It may not, but Moxley's kind of Koreshi at the moment. Like, as long as he doesn't start giving out Kool-Aid, I think we'll be okay. We'll still have an alternative show, but.
So I have one question, because this has been asked. Can they make this group, and Moxley's in particular, can they somehow turn this around and figure out a way to tell the story where they are actually the baby faces in this?
The only way that happens, it's like, for that to happen, and this is for anybody out there who's read Harry Potter, watched or anything, for me right now, for Moxley to be Snape, I don't see how they could get there, but then again, I wouldn't have seen how Snape got there early on. You know what I mean? So maybe, of course, they certainly can. I don't know. I'm intrigued though, and I'm happy I'm intrigued again, because I was getting it was hurting my soul constantly having to be like, and we're talking about AEW. Sum the show up in 3 words: no more murder.
No more murder.
Yeah.
I feel like kind of how you said Snape. So you'd have to find out that like Bryan Danielson was in on it the whole time. I feel like that's the only way that you turn them babyface. You can make it be babyface is like Bryan Danielson was in on this. They knew what they were doing. The plastic bag had 17 holes ripped into it. Like, it has to be some real advanced storytelling at this point.
It could be much simpler too, though. It could be, if you wanted to go that route, Danielson was a willing sacrifice. It could be that. But if you do that, then I think it makes it way more evil kind of thing. I don't know. We'll see. I don't think this is, if they want this to work, and they definitely want it to work, this cannot be rushed. Like, if they've got, what do they usually have? 5 weekly episodes or show between their events?
Just about
5, 6?
Yeah. It's usually just about.
Yeah, so let's use 5. 4 out of every 5, Moxley and his crew has to stand tall. And it's got to not be so formulaic as to stand tall all the way up to the one before the pay-per-view, the event, whatever we're calling it this day for AEW. It can't just be that they look strong until the go home before that, and give everybody false hope kind of thing. Like, sometimes, listen, life is cruel. Sometimes the bad guy just wins.
That's what I'm saying. So, I know you have not watched the show Heels, and I'm a huge fan of it. Well, one of the promos that gets written is how about if the brother that's supposed to be playing the babyface goes, what about if at the end I say, because good always triumphs over evil? And Stephen Amell's character looks at him and goes, but it doesn't. Yeah. And he goes, what? He goes, it doesn't. If you say the line that way, it's going to fall deaf on the crowd because it's not true. I wrote it the way I wrote it because the other way makes it's still true. He's like, but if you say And like he's like, it's a common belief that good triumphs over evil. He goes, yeah, but it's still not true. Evil's got a fuck ton in the trophy case.
Yeah, evil has a lot more golds than they do silver. That's the thing, that it's just people remember the golds that good pulled off. People don't. That's why, I mean, it's switching gears and all this stuff, and that's why it meant so much when Cody beat Roman. But 4 years of everybody got and also ran against Roman, when it was like, okay, this makes all the sense in the world. It's this guy. Nope. And then the first
Dead.
Cody, it's like, oh, this makes a nope. Like, it's like, okay.
Dead also.
Yeah. Kind of thing. So, but yeah, man, like, listen, dude, the bad guys win quite often. That's what I used to like about the old school cartoons we grew up with. It wasn't always that the good guys won. Like sometimes they caught a shit whipping.
That's what I'm saying. All right. So outside of the vignette, the actual opening to the show is in-ring Hangman on Page interview. It starts off being conducted by my favorite person in the whole wide world.
He's invited to your birthday party.
That's right, Tony Schiavone. Literally, it's written here again. Tony Schiavone is the worst. Just terrible. He's the worst. Here's my one thing. Where I'm going to critique Hangman a little bit, because I don't want to just kick him. Hangman's work recently has been a lot better than I used to give him credit for. I feel like heel Hangman is much better than babyface Hangman. I like the facial expressions. I like the craziness that he portrays. My issue comes back to, it's not the tone of his voice. Yes, it is the tone of his voice. It's the cadence of his voice. He will yell, and when he's yelling, there's no change in it. It's somehow he yells monotone.
I see what you're getting at.
Like, you get what I'm saying? Like, I'm not saying like the sound of his voice. Or I am saying the sound of his voice. It's not where a couple weeks ago I had made the joke about Wheeler Yuta. I'm not actually making a joke about this. This is he needs to do something. This is something he can learn to do differently. This is something he can change. He can do it, but when he does it and he's yelling like that, all it does is it makes him sound like he's blown up just from cutting a promo. And maybe he is. Maybe he's that nervous to do it. Which I'm not judging him for being nervous to go out in front of the camera and do something in front of thousands of people. But it's coming off that way. So I like overall what he's been doing, though. I like I said, I like heel Hangman much better than I like babyface Hangman. And I like crazy Hangman. The only other problem I have with this segment is when Jay White comes out and cuts the promo, the heel is the guy who's standing alone in the match. Hangman doesn't have any friends helping him. The Bang Bang gang is coming out and tag teaming him. It's the opposite. Yes, that's right. I said the Bang Bang gang is tag teaming the other guy. Yes, it sounds like a porn.
All right, well, listen, I wasn't having a 12-year-old laugh, and now I'm struggling not to be a 12-year-old laughing, because I was like, yeah, no, they've got it backwards again, where we were talking about, good Lord, what was it? We were talking about a pay-per-view, and it was just the Damian Priest and Finn Balor match, where it didn't work right because the heel was so tiny and the babyface was so enormous. Same deal here. Their characters, sure, but Jay White's not a face. He just you can try to make him one. No, the dude is the dude's a prick. Like, he's probably the nicest guy in the world, but like his character, he's always a prick. And lean into it. The thing that I'm noticing with Hangman more than anything, and it's something that's going on over in AEW. when I see what you're getting at with the whole, how do you? He gets crazy eyes and everything else, but his getting loud doesn't have any extra intensity. So it's one of
Thank
those
you.
where, and Jake Roberts is there, and I've mentioned him on a few things. He always said, everything I do in the ring means something, whether I turned my head to the left, if I moved my hair. I think those guys need to go sit under that learning tree for a little bit, because there are times when you can take a step back and honestly have some dead air for 3, 4, 5 seconds while you watch as somebody formulates what's going on. And there's something powerful to that. I reference this when I'm speaking to people. I remember watching somebody ask Elon Musk a question, and it almost looks like he's being rude for a second, but that question made him focus the entirety of his intellect, which is considerable, on this thing. And you watch him just lean back, think about it, and then come out and say it. And it had a ton of impact. And it could just be something as simple as that, as not sitting there and like sitting at the starting line going like this. Okay, so the second you finish talking, I talk, and then I shut up and you talk. So it could be a little bit of that. It doesn't feel as natural. That's the thing. Hangman, you've known me a long time, dude. You've, in real life, folks out there, Steve's seen me lose my cool and everything else. I'll get the crazy Hangman eyes, but it's not the same thing. It's not believable enough yet. And it might even be that Hangman doesn't believe that part of his character.
I think it might be that a little bit too. Like I said, I don't want to bash too much on something that he's doing where it seems like he's not doing better. He is absolutely doing better.
Yeah.
That doesn't change the fact that it can be better still. And I like, if he can get that part, this character might actually end up being perfect.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things, like, because I couldn't understand, because I was watching his matches and I was watching facial expressions and all types of stuff he was doing. I'm like, man, he's really doing some good stuff out there. Why do I feel so disconnected from this guy? And I sat here and I listened to this interview, this promo, and there's no difference between him yelling and getting loud than Roderick Strong doing Adam. It's the same yell.
We're talking about this. And so folks listening, if you want to kind of put a comparison to go look up these things with Paige and everything else. And then I want you to rewind the clock and go back to an interview conducted in the ring where it's a promo, and it's Brock Lesnar and Eddie Guerrero. And when Eddie Guerrero starts talking about, I do need my fix, and you watch as a person is authentic in that, and you watch as somebody speaks in a almost a sheepish voice with a little bit of being ashamed of who they were and things they had done, and then talking about how it became triumphant. And it goes from very reserved to a lot of yelling to extreme passion, and Hangman can get there, and he 100% can have that effect on a crowd. I hope he gets there, because the dude has everything, man. It's much like Trick Williams. The guy's got the look. I have yet to see a really bad Hangman match, truthfully.
I agree with you. No, and that's the thing, is I'm agreeing with you. The stuff that Hangman needs to do differently can be taught. I'm not talking about things that he can't learn. That's why I'm hoping that he does figure it out. But like I said, this entire segment left me wanting a little bit. Like, Jay White isn't a natural babyface. Hangman was the guy standing on his own against a gang of babyfaces, and it opened up with Tony Schiavone. So just all around, it started off behind the 8 ball, realistically.
It had a recipe for a not your taste sandwich immediately.
Immediately. It had raw tomatoes.
South Harmon Institute of Technology sandwiches.
I appreciate that one. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So we get next up we get Shelton Benjamin versus Sammy Guevara. I'm getting a little over them still talking about Sammy being the first match ever. We're at the point where it's almost like a moot point where 5 years later it's not. If he was going after the world title, I think it would be something that you could bring up. But now it's just something that you're just saying to say. And I'm not saying he's not on a good run currently. I'm just saying we keep saying the same thing. And you and I don't... You will yell at me if I start beating a dead horse too often. You have yelled at me for beating a dead horse too often for the show. They're doing it. Every time Sammy goes out there, it's, well, he's one of the original pillars. He's this, he's that. It's all the same stuff, but at the same time, I'm not saying he's not having a good run currently. He's not having a great run, though. And what have you done for me lately?
Yeah. So the whole thing there, and I've been a little bit like nostalgic lately, and I've been going back and watching some moments that were pretty defining from my younger years, and not just in wrestling. Going back, and I went down memory lane of the Yankees, like 96 and then 98, 99, 2000, watching some of that stuff and being like, gosh, just thinking back when times were a lot simpler. And yes, the perfect thing there, because I think at some point that the world title will end up around Guevara. I do think it'll happen. And it's a great thing to say there. But it's one of those where everybody knows a person who has that one random bit of trivia that nobody else knew. And that became their whole personality. It's like, and did you know that St. Paul's Cathedral was built by Christopher Wren? And that's my random bit of trivia. I had to make a diorama of St. Paul's Cathedral in London from 8th grade. Still remember the lead architect was Christopher Wren. Haha. So, okay, but if that was my whole personality, I'd kind of be a dick. Like, nobody would really want to be near me. And
a geek, even.
The whole thing is, it can come up once in a blue moon. Hell, Dynamite 750, whatever. I don't know how many they've done at this point, but whatever the next milestone is, when he comes out, oh, do you remember when he was the first match we had on our first Dynamite? You can say that at the milestone ones, but not being like, he was the first match we ever had, and we'll be right back with you after this break. And we're back from our break right now with the person who had the first match we ever had. Like, let it go at this point. Say it when it's important, and then if he does get the world title, it becomes a whole thing of, from first to the top of the mountain. Like, there's a lot that can be done there. But enough on Sammy. Goddamn Shelton Benjamin. He's an ageless wonder, man. He's incredible.
This match was so good.
Yeah. It was as good as the HBK Shelton Benjamin match back in the day.
So, I don't know if anyone else realizes this. Shelton Benjamin is putting on a masterclass the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
On how to be a bigger guy, a bigger athletic guy, which is what he is, and face underneath, and being a heel, taking on underneath baby faces.
Yep.
He had a match with Lio Rush last week, and it was awesome. He had a match with Sammy this week, and it was awesome. And both of these guys, comparatively to Shelton, are underneath baby faces.
Yeah.
And he is doing it perfectly. In fact, the only critique I can have on Shelton for the last 2 weeks is the end of the Lio Rush match. He may have gotten a little bit too nice with him. Like, he let him have just a little bit too much. Not much too much. He just let him get a little bit too much fire left in him. But everything that they're doing, the way they're working speed, the way they're I'm the smaller guy, so I have to move out of the way of this. But you don't take away the fact that Shelton Benjamin is still an All-American Division I athlete that looks exactly the same as he did 20 years ago.
He's an ageless wonder. My God. It's just so good.
The first throw that he does on Guevara, where he just tosses him in the air, and kind of how we talked about this with something involving Bound for Glory. We're like, oh well, there we are. When he did that to Guevara, I went, oh, so we're doing this now.
Yep. And he's dead.
And it was 30 seconds into the match. It was the first thing he got a hold of him for.
It was very much the South Park thing. And he's gone. It's all gone now.
Done. This match was exactly what I wanted it to be. They did the thing I hate with the picture-in-picture and the advertising stuff that's coming on later again. They need to stop doing that. It doesn't make sense, and I'm sorry. It's just bad business practice at this point. I like MVP's coaching in this match, and like I said, though, this match in general was perfect. Shelton, I posed this question to you and Showtime in our group chat. If Shelton Benjamin were to win the world title, I know we're all assuming that Bobby Lashley is going to be the singles guy that they go with. But if Shelton Benjamin were to win the AEW world title with MVP as his mouthpiece currently, would anyone really be mad about it?
I would love to see Shelton Benjamin with a top title just to begin with.
That's what I'm saying.
I
know they can't do it right now because they have so much they need to flesh out with the Mox World Order. Mm-hmm. But 6, 7, 8 months from now, once they've kind of gotten this storyline established, even a year, if Benjamin doesn't get hurt a year from now, he's still going to be Shelton Benjamin.
Oh, I just had a visual of thinking about all this. There is a good chance we get a Claudio Shelton Benjamin feud. Yeah, that's that right there. Everybody in the back at Gorilla, all of it, any wrestling fan needs to sit there and just take notes. I don't know if those two have ever worked together before. I have all the faith in the world. Okay, so great. Even if it was going to be their first time getting in a match together and they called it on the fly, I have faith it's the best match of the night. Every time.
Absolutely. Yeah. So here's the thing. I don't think they've ever worked a singles match against each other. But I know they've had tag team matches with each other. Because in Ring of Honor, they had a feud between them, the Briscoes. It was Benjamin and Haas, the Briscoes, and the Kings of Wrestling, which was Claudio and Chris Hero.
Oh yeah, it's
no one got hit hard that entire feud.
No, Jay Briscoe did not punch anybody directly in the face. He was always just, soft as butter in the ring.
Very soft.
He hit you very hard in very unsafe places. The prick.
What's the line from Mick Foley? So I was so excited because I was gonna get to take a punch from Terry Funk, and he's world renowned. And all of a sudden, he wound back his left hand and hit me square in my forehead.
Good Lord. Thank you for saying that. I'm gonna at some point tomorrow look up a video going back to because I remember Haas and Benjamin feuding with the Briscoes and my jaw being on the floor. And it's I would like to go back and rewatch that. I'm just trying to get to the Tokyo Dome.
Oh, Jesus. All right, so we get a real quick backstage segment with Mariah May throwing Anna Jay's bag out of the locker room. I have written here, what a bitch. But at the same...
This bitch right here.
But, that's really what this was. And this goes along... So, last week we spoke about it where I said Mariah May is this gorgeous, amazing, beautifully wicked woman who you know better than to talk to. But if she gave you the call over finger, you'd ruin your life for her.
Yeah, as the kids say, willing to risk it all.
Completely, because ruin your life, all of it. But I like where I like what Mariah May even says after this. She throws the bag and says, "It's not mine." And Renee Paquette is like, "What?" Goes, "Anna Jay doesn't deserve to be in the ring with me, and she damn sure doesn't deserve to be in the locker room with me." And I was like, again, I go back to, what a bitch. just weren't ready for that one, huh?
I wasn't. And I'm not going to, it would make no sense I could tell you the story, but it would make no sense for the podcast. It's just, it brought me to a moment with another friend completely outside of this and the word bitch being used. And I spit water all over myself because it was so unexpected.
All right. So let's get on to the next segment. We get Don Callis and Kyle Fletcher doing an in-ring promo. I'm going to say this, and it's actually not me just bashing him at this point because I do hate him. But
what a bitch.
Why is Tony Schiavone even in the ring for this? No, but like, I'm actually asking this one for real. Like, I know it just sounds like me being a dick to Tony Schiavone again, but he doesn't do anything. He doesn't ask any questions. They can have the ring announcer announce Don Callis and Kyle Fletcher, and it'll have the same effect, if not a better effect. And Kyle Fletcher just cut a standalone promo where there was never a question asked of him. So you don't need an interviewer. You just need someone to announce that he's coming to the ring, and you decided to go with Tony. Tony Schiavone was your choice for this.
You just need Tony Schiavone's one of his 3 facial expressions he does. That's all it is.
Telling you, dude, that's my Tony Schiavone impression. Just call the match, dude. Yeah, that was the time where even Taz got mad at him. He said, "Don't call me dude" on air, and like you could hear real Taz came out for a second. "Don't call me dude, brother. What do you need to jump for?"
Yeah, they awoke the guy from Red Hook there for just a moment.
So, on a more serious note, though, I actually really like this promo. This was a great promo. I like Kyle acknowledging the crowd during this promo. They started saying "wrap it up," and they started chanting "wrap it up." And he has what I refer to as a wedding singer moment. Well, I have a microphone, so you will listen to every damn word I have to say.
It was well done.
It was so well done, but like that popped me a little bit where I was like that. Only because I thought about it like that. I was like, that's funny. It's not supposed to be funny. It was good how he said it.
Well, and it also because that's the thing is the interview itself. It was getting the point across, but you're going to remember it more fondly because of that moment. It's like instead of letting the crowd hijack it, anybody could go on YouTube and you could find a compilation of like wrestlers shutting down the crowd, and that was a shutting down the crowd moment. And you can take a promo that was passing, okay, cool, it's get close to in 78 to an 80 on it, and all of a sudden we're talking about, man, that was a good promo because you changed the direction it was heading, and the crowd was dictating the direction it was heading. But I have a lot of faith in Kyle Fletcher, and I'm not the biggest Don Callis fan, but at the same point, I'm starting to become more a fan of him because it just seems so doofy that somehow he's a mafia boss, almost like he's the head of a family. Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, how is the weird uncle we don't invite the one who's in charge?
Listen, Eddie.
Yeah. Shitter was full. Like, he's cousin Eddie. Get the fuck out of here with this.
Man.
And it's the suits too. It's when he's out there in a pink suit and he's just like, and I turned on Bygone Kenny Omega for you, and I'm like, does it work? It doesn't not.
I'm not sure if it fully works. I had this conversation where there are very few wrestlers that, after being in the business as long as we have, that I go, yeah, I don't buy that. Like I buy into what they're saying. Don Callis is one of those guys who I feel like the Don Callis that you see on screen, like maybe he's not the jerk, but I feel like if you talk to Don Callis out, like just in catering, he'd be the same guy that he is on screen.
Oh, you know what? You're probably right. Because if we remember back to when they were leading into when Bryan Danielson was going to wrestle Kenny Omega, and Don Callis was talking, and Bryan Danielson's like, "Shut up, you carny piece of shit." He probably just is a carny piece of shit.
It's really what it is. He's a Kizarny. Oh man.
Oh my god. Okay, he can be the head of the family. I'm back in.
I'm back.
I'm back in.
Oh man. All right. I do have one question for you during the about this promo though.
The answer is probably 12.
Yes. During the promo, Kyle Fletcher shaves his head in the middle of it. He wants to be completely different than Will Ospreay. My thing is, and this is just a me thing, and I think this might be a little bit of my wrestling OCD. I don't know if I would have done the head shave in the during the promo type of thing, like even to end off the promo. I get what they were trying to show, but I think they could have told the story just as well, and maybe not. I felt like it almost gave a hiccup to the flow of the promo, was him grabbing the thing and having to stop, where if he had just come out and still had like his hood up or something like that, and then was like, I'm nothing like Will Ospreay, and pulled his thing out. See, I don't look like Will Ospreay. I'm not Will Ospreay. And they like, oh my god, he's, especially if he did it like he full on like psychopath bicked his head. Like, I'm nothing like Will Ospreay. And I'm not saying he should have done that. I'm just saying just doing it in front of him, I felt like it threw the flow of the promo off a little bit. And it might just be me. I think the message got across correctly. It just I think I would have done it that way instead, and it's just a me thing.
So I see what you're getting at. I do there, and yeah, I was having the same thought of like if you really wanted to get that across, and the only way to me that this works, and because it does change the flow, and then you also add a sound, which is having because it's going to be there, it's going to get picked up a little bit, and if he was. And maybe I'm misremembering the end of the promo, but if he was laughing maniacally, like the maniacal laugh, like almost like giant toothy laugh while he did that,
or like laughing and crying at the same time.
Like if they're
some
going to
type
lean
of crazy thing.
If they're leaning into this, and this is going to be a story where like him trying to separate from Will, like almost functionally breaks a portion of who he is. I think you've got something special. If they can pull that off, that's a masterstroke to me right there. Because I'm sure that some things similar to that have been done before, but none that stand out where I'm like, yeah, okay, this is a remake of blah 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 and blah 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 storyline. If they can pull that off, that would be a true masterstroke, and I would really like to see that happen.
I agree. I have faith in Kyle Fletcher too, so I'm hopeful to see where this goes. We get a backstage Ricochet promo, so there was that. Immediately after that, we get Brian Cage and Lance Archer in a squash tag team match to build them as a dangerous tag team. No, so I'm not talking about the Ricochet promo.
No. Listen, you know what's great? If you go on Bleacher Report and you go to like read the thing, it says Brian Cage and Lance Archer versus local talent.
So, perfect.
It describes it perfectly. Just perfect. Saying.
All right, so then we get, I guess, the first of our main events in this, and it's Mark Briscoe as the Ring of Honor champion versus Chris Jericho, once again for the Ring of Honor title in a ladder match. I'm going to let you talk about this because I know you weren't happy about it. I am less mad about the match, but I do have some nitpicks that I'd like to throw out there.
The match itself was fine. Like we talked about at the pay-per-view. They put on the first meeting that they had no right being as good as it was, which I mean it has every right because Chris Jericho's an all-time great, and Mark Briscoe unfortunately was overshadowed by his brother the whole time. But Mark Briscoe is every bit as good as Jay Briscoe was, and that's high praise. Like we've said before, mentioning Jay Briscoe's name, there better be respect with it, kind of thing, because it's earned, it's deserved, and the guy was incredible in every facet of wrestling, from the mind to all of it. And Mark Briscoe, yeah, he was little brother. And that's just kind of how that worked. But the guy can go. But my whole thing is, it doesn't matter to me that Mark Briscoe lost the title. That's it. Titles get lost. I'm not gonna lose sleep because of storyline. Oh no, how dare they? It's Jericho doesn't need it. And now I like the Ocho. I don't want to have to call him a Nueve.
So here's where I'm at with it. I'm not even so mad that Jericho won the title. If this is it, I have two things. One, if this is a thing where Jericho actually goes to Ring of Honor and tries to put Ring of Honor on the map, I think I'd actually be more okay with this. Here is I have two real gripes with this. One, if they were going to do this, why didn't they just do it at the pay-per-view? I'm just saying.
I can tell you right now why they didn't then. Because that was one of the feel-good moments because of the way it was going to end. You needed a bunch of feel-good moments before the, oh my God, the world is falling moment at the end.
See, I also think that we should... So I'm not mad about the match, the order of the matches. Like, I'm not mad that we got the regular match and then we got the ladder match and he won the ladder match. But I kind of feel like this ladder match should have been on a pay-per-view. This was a pay-per-view quality match. And regardless of how anyone feels about my business thinking about my thinking of the business and incorporating business into it, you can't keep giving these things away for free.
Especially with a Jericho type, because he's only got a handful at most left.
A match like this?
Yeah.
You gave a match like this away for free. And that took away... This is a match now that Jericho can't have again.
Yep.
Because if nothing, like you said, his body can't handle him doing this again. If they had played this out 3 weeks longer and they did this match at the next pay-per-view, I think it would be better. Like, really, and let Jericho just go to town out with every bash or everything that he could think of about Jay Briscoe. Like, just let him have it. My other thing, at the end of this match, really? Ishii? That's what we're getting after this? Mark Briscoe finally gets his world title run. He loses it to Chris Jericho, one of the greatest of all time. And we're expected to believe that the guy that's going to make Jericho quiver in his boots is Tomohiro Ishii?
Yeah, aren't you afraid of the Stone Pitbull?
No! Like, I'm not at all. First of all, he's 1,700 years old.
A little bit.
You want to know why I'm not worried about him winning a fight against me? First of all, he can't reach my chin. Secondly, he's going to break his hip trying to.
Oh, man.
I never thought I'd say this. Chris Jericho has youth on his side in this match. Jesus Christ.
He has the size advantage and the youth advantage.
He's
70.
I haven't said that in 15 years.
That's
Jericho's
why they're doing
the bigger wrestler. Said no one ever.
That's why they're doing it. It's just so he can be like, he's very much going to look out.
Just puts the hand out to stop him.
Just holds it by his forehead. You can't reach me. Oh,
You seen Ishii start doing like the chugga chugga trying to get past his hand.
Oh my gosh.
Chugga 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 chugga
chugga.
Oh my god. But Ishii, really? Come on, man.
I mean, look, it's Ring of Honor has a long storied history tied to Japan as well. And it will make sense. I get it. I do. People who are old school Ring of Honor fans, it's kind of a throwback for them a little bit of a, wink and a nod. But yeah, I see what you're getting at. But it's, dude, the whole thing's a mess. Like, you should.
I'm not even mad about Jericho.
No, and it's not, I don't think Jericho needed it. And it's like, again, it's one of those things, because I don't think Mark Briscoe will ever have that title again. That was his one, and then it'll be back to Mark Briscoe doing, redneck kung fu Froggy Bow stuff. And or what is it called? Is it redneck kung fu or redneck jitsu? Either way, but
I think it's redneck kung fu.
Yeah, and sure, okay, Jericho does. You could say that it puts a real legitimate name on the title, but you have some of the most legitimate names of all time have held that title. We're talking AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, CM Punk, Bryan Danielson, Nigel McGuinness. Hell, there's others I can't think of too. Oh, Seth Rollins,
Tyler Black, if you will.
Kevin Steen, Kevin Owens, it's not.
Harris.
Yeah, it's not. It's not like the belt doesn't have a storied lineage, a storied history. With his Wrath of God voice, yes.
Listen, brother. Oh man! All right, so we get. All right, let's move on. We've got Adam Cole doing an in-ring promo. I'm still not completely sure how he's a face, other than the fact that MJF is now a heel.
He's face by default. That's all it is. In the storyline, he's by default.
And he's just letting the Undisputed Kingdom come back into his life, like they're not going to double-cross him.
That's going to make him a face because he was so trusting, and then he would have the puppy dog eyes of, but why? And then
I think
Roddy goes, Adam, and knees him in the friggin' face.
And then Kyle O'Reilly's going to come out and save him, and that's going to be how Kyle O'Reilly and Adam Cole get back together. Baby.
Baby.
I'm not saying what MJF did was bad on this episode, but this is the second week in a row that he's given us a pre-recorded promo that kind of doesn't have anything to do with anything that was said in the ring. So it is what it is. I think it's as good as MJF is. I hate to say it, but they're just recycling some of his old material at this point. They're really pulling down some low-hanging fruit. And I think he needs, the nice way of saying it is he needs a refresher. He needs a refresher feud. He needs someone who he hasn't been involved with. Like, someone who can talk almost on the level with him. I think Adam Cole is kind of that, but it's not something that we haven't seen already. We saw it last year.
Yeah, but I understand why they're doing that too right now, because we never saw it to completion. Because Adam Cole's ankle exploded off of his body.
Because everyone got hurt, and then everyone got hurt again, and then life.
Yeah.
So we'll see how far this goes out. It led to Cole and Roddy are gonna have 3 matches each, and whoever gets the 3 wins first or whatever it is gets to get their match against MJF at Full Gear. Okay. What about if they want to have like more than one match a night? I don't know. It's a weird concept, and I don't know if I fully understand it.
Well, most of MJF's feuds have had this weird ass thing where it's like it's kind of like the Labors of Hercules. Is that what it was? Like having to prove certain things.
They always have them do stuff like that.
Yeah, Cody did it. Wardlow had to do it.
Jericho did it.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, because, my God, they had Jericho fight Nick Gage, which I'd never thought I'd see him on TV. But
I could have done without that one.
Yeah.
So immediately we get, or right after that, we get Camille versus Queen Aminata. I'm not even gonna lie to anybody. I like Camille, and I didn't watch this match because it didn't do anything. And I want to know when Chris Statlander became a babyface. There was no explanation for this. She just didn't have Stokely one day.
Yeah, it's very, very odd. And
she won the street fight against Willow. They celebrated as heels. And then she showed up and was a babyface and chasing after Mercedes.
Yeah, it's continuity errors. Again, it's one of those things where I think far too often people underestimate the intelligence of pro wrestling fans and think that, and don't get me wrong, stereotypes exist for a reason. There are people out there who, can't walk and chew gum at the same time and are breathing through their mouths, who love them some wrestling. But most people are not that.
It's too big of a product now. That's not everyone that's here.
Yeah,
everyone's an analyst. That's why we have a show.
Pretty much everybody's an armchair quarterback. Everybody knows everything about everything until
everybody's an expert.
Yeah. I'm clearly an expert on what the Yankees did wrong to go down 2 games. But yeah, did I ever make it to the pros? No, but I know more.
We see the Hook versus the Hook and Christian angle where it appears that Christian is the one that jumped Taz.
To be Hook's father.
I love it. He's going to be everyone's father.
Hook's going to turn on Taz, and he's going to become one of Christian's sons. I love it. It's not going to happen, but I love it.
It's not going to happen, but I hope it does. At least it gives him something interesting to do at this point, because Hook doesn't interest me anymore. Nothing about what Hook does interest me. No,
Hook is there. He could be something special. And I don't want to go back down the rabbit hole again of, like, Hook can't be in a match with me and him big man me. I'm sorry, I've taken craps bigger than Hook. Like, it just is what it is at that point. But the submission thing, like,
the thing
one
is,
of you
Hook,
assholes
Hook
out there.
Is not Taz.
He's not, but Taz also was built like a Sherman tank. Hook is built like somebody you could see dominating a jiu-jitsu tournament.
Exactly.
So that's why I'm saying, if somebody out there in AEW land, have Hook you can have him become that monster who does this, but somebody goes to do some crazy throw to him and lands in a friggin' arm bar. Do some wild stuff with that. Have fun with it. But submission route. Stop with this whole, he's going to suplex a 600-pound guy. He's not.
He's not. In real life, that's not a thing.
No.
That gets us right to the main event, which it's kind of exactly what I thought it was going to be. It was Private Party and blah, 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 blah versus the Elite. The Elite are
Daniel Garcia.
Thank you, Daniel Garcia. That's how much I actually I'm falling out of love with Daniel Garcia too, unfortunately.
The MJF feud didn't do enough for him.
It didn't do enough, and kind of the stuff that they're doing. I know we keep saying we have to let the stuff with Moxley cook, but the guys that they have that are rallying the locker room against Moxley, not a single one of them seems like they would be able to put a dent in Moxley's group.
Yes, you're 100% right, and that's why I don't want Lashley to immediately end up in a thing with Moxley. You need to keep them two apart. And
I agree.
I mean, truthfully, if you really want to have the storyline go somewhere, this is going to be a storyline to make the Elite faces. And it's going to bring them back to where all of a sudden, okay, we did start this company and we are going to lead it and we are going to protect it. And they go out there and they get shit whipped. Like, despite all of that. And But you can build that for a while, and you can almost they love their stadium stampede matches, whatever stupid ass gimmick thing between, the Moxley World Order and the Elite. Fine, but the Moxley World Order needs to like stomp them.
I know
you can do
spot I
all
want to
that,
see.
and that's when you kind of are like, okay, we've got Shelton Benjamin, who doesn't make any friggin' sense because he's not human, and Bobby Lashley, who doesn't make any sense because he's. I hate them both. I love both of them. I hate them both tremendously, and maybe they're going to have Ricochet too. They need somebody who can go out there and get European uppercutted by Claudio into the rafters.
That too. That, you know what? That's the other spot I want to see. I figured out the spot after you said the Elite versus the Combat Blackpool Club. I figured out the spot. I need Claudio to pick up Jungle Boy like he's a baseball bat and just start beating the Bucks with him.
I thought you were going to go, I need Claudio to go in the ring and actually murder them. We don't want that. I know you're not a fan, but let it go. They're good Christian boys and they've got kids.
He's going to swing all three of them at once.
I mean, yeah, it'll be great. Truthfully, if you're going to do all that, the only one who you have come through and looks like he belongs and make it look so is somehow Okada comes out the other side of that, even though having lost, the only one who put up a viable fight where you and that, because you do need to get to that point. And it's, but yeah, because right now there's nobody there to contend. I mean, outside the House of Black, but they haven't started pushing them together yet.
It seems like they're not pushing that around, and I would really like that because that's a viable option. Well,
I'll tell you, I don't know who I take in that fight. If we're getting serious on it, if we're actually being serious here, I take the Black. If it was a fight, I take the House of Black.
I think so.
Yeah, because Buddy Murphy doesn't make sense. Brody King doesn't make sense. And Malachi Black, Aleister Black, Tommy End, whatever you want to call him, he'll knock every one of them out. It's just, oh, really? Wow. It's just how it would go.
But Moxley knows death jitsu.
Please.
unless he's facing the guy that works at Walmart. All right, so the show kind of ended how we thought it would with Mox World Order kind of just beating the hell out of everybody again. I feel like we're going to be seeing this a lot. It's going to be a lot of the Mox World Order just beating up everybody. So there's only a few things to talk about on Collision, really, that moved any type of storyline. The first one that I want to kind of touch on a little bit was the Mariah May promo on Anna Jay. This is just more proof that Mariah May is doing phenomenal work.
She's operating on a different level than the rest of that locker room, and the only other person who is operating on that level, not saying other people can't, but just aren't, is Toni Storm.
It's Toni Storm, yeah.
And I am so glad that they're keeping a Mercedes Moné away from Mariah May right now and all that, because in the weirdest way, and you'll see where I'm going with it, and I can't quantify this, is what kills me. But you'd have to put the belt on Mercedes Moné. And I can't quantify it, and you know precisely what I'm saying right now.
No, I agree with you. And it would ruin, and the bigger problem with this is if they have a sound off where they're having talk offs and promo offs, I think Mariah May is going to cut a better promo right now.
Yeah.
Because she is. The start of this promo, did she tear Anna Jay apart in this. You're telling me if you left it, she goes, if you left this company, you're telling me we couldn't find another fat ass blonde and teach her an arm drag and let her waste 5 years of her life? Jesus Christ, man.
Mariah May is on a different level right now.
That is a savage ass line. And she delivered it like it was
She delivered Tuesday. It like she was a mean girl from high school, which she probably was.
And she's like, oh yeah, she was. Ruin
And
everyone's life.
you used to yell at me for me falling for blondes.
Yeah, well, 20 years ago, Mariah May was your type.
Mariah May would be my type 20 seconds ago. Okay? But she's everybody's type.
And then she'd rip your heart out.
Like, listen, they all have. It's okay. I don't have one left.
No, I mean, she'd physically have ripped your heart out. Like,
listen, it's 2024. Stop kink shaming me.
Jesus Christ. All right, let's get on to the more important bit from the more important segment on Collision. Not that the Mariah May segment was not important. It was so good.
Mariah May's segment.
Very good. Very good. Mariah, everything that you're doing currently is an A+.
Mm-hmm.
Everything.
Dare I say, before we move on, the best thing happening in women's pro wrestling across all brands. The only thing comparable right now is Liv and Rhea, maybe. And I think Mariah May's do it. Like, I would love to see Mariah May and Rhea Ripley in a feud.
Oh, it'd be so good. It'd be so good.
Or even with Chelsea Green, so that way somehow we have the R-Truth moments. But still. But on to the next thing, though, please, sir.
So we get Nigel McGuinness having a sit-down with Wheeler Yuta. And this was something. And I mean that in a good way. Like, this was... Wheeler said some shit in this interview.
So the takeaway I got from it, first of all, kudos to Nigel McGuinness, because he delivered that. Like, I got the feeling like Nigel McGuinness was a gangster in an English movie. The way he delivered things, when he called him a cheeky little bastard, like things like that, where it's, Yuta's is with the group that's the most dangerous, and in that room at that moment, Yuta didn't know how much danger he was in. That was a great feel.
It's the scene from a Bronx Tales.
Yeah,
Bronx Tales. Now you can't leave.
Yeah, or even Kingsman, where he locks the thing, "Manners maketh man," kind of thing.
Yeah, it was that.
It's I alluded to it earlier, how I think this is right now. I don't know if it'll end up there, but it's at least started with like a culty vibe. Yuta sounds like a full-on devotee, and the only thing I would change about Yuta in this promo, like, first, Yuta's facial expressions and his head movement during the interaction was great at the start. Like, he was sitting there, and everything that McGuinness was saying, Yuta was kind of rocking back and forth, and he was like, "But you did this," and he's shaking his head no the whole time, like no, you don't. It's either no, you don't understand, no, you don't get it, no, I didn't do that, or him. Like the whole thing where body language doesn't lie, and while he's saying he believes this, he's showing everybody he doesn't, and he did it out of self-preservation. And again, I could be way, like, Evel Knievel might not be able to make that jump, but Yuta did really well. The only thing is, I wish he would have paced his answers a little more, because we mentioned it earlier. It kind of felt a lot like everything McGuinness said, McGuinness delivered perfectly, almost menacingly, but Yuta was like poised at the block, and then get my words out. Okay, and then shut up, and then sit there like a coiled spring again, waiting to go. That's the only thing I would have changed.
I agree. Nigel delivered this like,
yeah.
I want to hear the words from your mouth why you did this. I want to hear it. Like, and again, for all the history that Nigel McGuinness has with Bryan Danielson, the one line I like, even though I do think it was delivered a little bit too quickly. "Oh, I'm sorry, Joker. Are you mad that we killed the Batman instead?" Like, it was a good line, but it's kind of how you said, da-da-da-da-da. No, if he had timed it a little better and said it so that everyone could catch it, I think that would have been, because you could have had Nigel kind of sit back when he said it there.
Yeah.
Like, oh.
you're spot on. Like the way the cadence should have been where he should have been, oh, I'm sorry, Joker. And McGuinness being like almost puzzled like this. You're upset that we got the Batman before you. Like that's the pacing there, not the sorry, Joker, we got him before you.
Yeah.
See,
and
like,
it's a good line. It was a good line, and
great line.
And unfortunately, it fell flat because it wasn't delivered in the best way it could have been.
That, and some people are just going to miss it.
That's what I mean.
He spoke far too fast for it, but again, that's teachable.
That's what I'm saying. Is it was the delivery of it. Yeah. How he delivered it was too fast. So because it was so fast, you either missed it or you didn't have time to register. If Nigel, who was in the room, didn't have enough time to register it, the rest of the world didn't have enough time to register it.
Yeah, but taking away from just that overall, though, that was the best kind of vignette promo thing involving Wheeler Yuta I've ever seen.
I agree.
I'm excited for Yuta, and I kind of like how even now, since doing this, he's always kind of had like the Billy Goat beard going on a little bit, but it's like extra disheveled.
Oh, and his hair too.
Yeah.
His hair seems extra long and disheveled.
So full on like devotee right now, and it's cool.
Now I asked you this a little bit before we got on. Do you think, especially the way Nigel was sitting there and like took this as seriously as he did, is this maybe a situation where Nigel almost becomes a reluctant hero in some way, shape, or form? I kind of almost feel like this is, listen, it was one thing for us to have a professional rivalry. Neither one of us wanted to kill the other one. You almost killed him. You almost ruined his life. You almost took someone's father away from them.
And Nigel delivered it really well when he said, he's like, you've crossed the Rubicon. He goes, that's the wording he used there. And I was like, well done. All right. It's well played there, sir. The thing about Danielson and McGuinness, and anybody who's listening, if you haven't watched their older stuff, some of the most incredible and brutal, like we're not like, barbed wire exploding metal bats of doom, just two guys who kicked the dog shit out of each other. And the amount of respect that they have for each other, and both Steve and I can say this from being in there, I was more apt to allow myself into something that became like we beat the hell out of each other if I respected and trusted you.
Yeah.
And that right there speaks to just how important pro wrestling was and is to both of those gentlemen and the level of respect they have. Now, Nigel McGuinness, the way he played this off, he is a viable threat to the Mox World Order.
I think so. I could see Nigel, if he's not the guy that actually goes and fights them, because I don't know how. Because I don't know how much he still has left in the tank as far as being able to still wrestle. I don't know about his health stuff, all that stuff. I don't want to make assumptions about anything. I know he had a great match, a great couple showings, but I halfway feel like that was to get it out of his system.
Yeah.
I could see him being the guy, though, that, hey, you want to find someone who's going to find tough SOBs? You find a tough SOB to find other tough SOBs.
100%.
You get Nigel, and he's going to go pull guy A, guy B, guy C, and guy D. They're going to be, for lack of a better term, Nigel's four horsemen.
Yeah, and that's a really cool idea too, because what if it does take something where there's somebody who's been floundering, and I mean, my gosh, the storyline right there is like writing itself. It's get somebody who's a bit of an outcast and a hooligan, and who's running, because right now you're gonna need oh my god. Listen, first of all, although I mean Claudio would like a fight with Sheamus. But I mean, other than that, the others don't want to fight with Sheamus. He's an angry man. Good Lord. But no, it's the storyline there is something great where him going out and kind of selecting the character, if you will, for this. Kind of, I have this mental picture of, him walking into a bar and being like, is blah, blah, blah here. And then somebody standing, who's asking kind of thing. Like, and that's kind of the mental picture I get out of that. And you could do a lot with that right now.
Or even like, you're calling it, like if he's doing something where he's calling in a few guys, like, hey, I know this guy should be able to do it, but I don't know if he's mentally ready for it. And you have it set up where they're not even in a ring. I don't want them in a ring in this scenario. They're in essentially what would look like the heart dungeon. And like one of the guys comes in and is like, I want to recruit you, but I don't know if you're ready for this, and I need you to prove to me that you're ready for this. And then the next shot is them like both beaten to hell and kind of sitting there, maybe having like a pint with each other and just being like, all right, I'm glad you're still you. Let's do this.
Yeah, something like that. Or even, a phone call, and you can kind of hear the tension on the phone being like, I wouldn't call you if it wasn't important. Like kind of like that, and leaving it open-ended there, and then letting fan theory run wild too, because that would be the most fun part of all of it. Be like, who the hell is he actually calling right now? And I would love to go down a speculative rabbit hole there.
How many Ring of Honor guys could he possibly pull out of this?
Yeah, exactly.
Again, we named a lot of champions.
We did.
I'm just saying, you're telling me a team consisting of Nigel McGuinness and Samoa Joe isn't a threat to this team?
Bringing back Chris Hero.
Bringing back Hero. If Hero's in shape, bringing back Chris Hero.
Yeah.
Bringing back... There's a lot of guys. Possibly a Briscoe. Possibly someone like that.
Yep.
There's a lot of guys in that world that you could tap into.
Yeah, I mean, there's a potential for it there. I could see ultimately Nigel McGuinness ending up the Mickey in this scenario.
Yeah,
which would be really cool.
That's more where I'm thinking is I don't think he's gonna I don't see him doing the fighting, and I could be wrong. Maybe it's something where they push him too far and he starts a fight. Like something happens, he's going to protect somebody else. Like, you've gone too far, and they just beat the crap out of him, and he starts fighting back. But it's still four of them against him, who hasn't wrestled really in 10 years. And so now he's got to pull somebody. So you get a little bit of action out of him, but more so he's the JJ Dillon. He's the he's the trainer, the manager, the MVP in this case.
Yeah, you could go as far as Nigel McGuinness, because of things that have happened. It takes him kind of going out on his shield to get maybe this whole thing is like he finds the people who are going to do it and they can't get along, reluctant like this, and behind the scenes, like you're only hearing about it a little bit. We're not making it a whole goddamn K-drama out here. We're 35 episodes later. We're still hoping to get some kind of climax. But something where he's like, screw it, I don't have time to wait anymore, and he goes out on his shield, and that's what unites everything. I don't know, man. It's fun to speculate, though.
I think there's a lot they can do with the storyline in general. I think the fact that if they can incorporate Nigel more, it'll be better than if they incorporate him less. I think it showed how serious he wanted to take this.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, like I said, I think this is something really cool that they can do. But I mean, realistically, this has been the stuff for AEW. This has been stuff for NXT. Hound and I are going to review Halloween Havoc. We'll have it out to you sometime during the week of October 27th, 28th, that time span. But we will have it out that week. Just won't tell you when yet. Don't worry, we'll announce it. But also this week, we will have the review for TNA Bound for Glory, and also the preview for Crown Jewel with that obnoxious title. Hound's so happy about that title.
I want it so desperately, and they're not going to make a replica, and I will cry.
It's because it'd still be $1,000 even with cubic zirconia.
Listen, I have made foolish purchases in my life. What's one more?
It's the only belt that'll fit you. That's why. It'll look like a normal belt on you.
Oh, good Lord.
Did you mention that thing on like Bronson Reed?
So terrible. I love it. I love it.
It's so unbelievably obnoxious.
It is, and that's why I love it.
Oh, but Legion, that has been the week. We appreciate you as always. A lot of other big news coming out. We keep talking about it. We will be having merchandise soon, which is going to be awesome. We're going to have hats. We are going to have shirts. I keep making the joke that we're going to do a bumper sticker. We're not going to do a bumper sticker. We might go as far as custom magnets. And I'm contemplating getting us a hoodie as well. You should assume that I still call it a Lariat hoodie will be out eventually, sooner rather than later. But we will have a black snapback hat. We are going to have a trucker style hat. We are going to have a bunch of shirts. As soon as I can figure out what shirt I can do to embarrass Hound the most with, that will be his specific signature shirt.
Fat guy belly shirt.
And the picture might just be the U of it as a Super Saiyan. Fucking stupid.
Or just me doing like a whole cutesy thing. Like,
I'm in.
I'll do it. I will make a calendar right now.
Yes. But I want you in a baby bonnet. You never gave me the baby bonnet before.
Yeah, I will. Listen, I will at some point.
It's $1 million gimmick.
It's not. It's really not. It will make us tens of dollars. We will be thoroughly whelmed and will afford one meal from Burger King.
Wait, are you saying $10 in profit? Because that's a lot of dollars at this point, because I plan on selling hundreds of these calendars. All right, Hound, as always, though, thank you for coming on again. We got through this week. We got a kind of a big week this week between Halloween Havoc, the review. We had TNA Bound for Glory this past weekend. We have Crown Jewel coming up next weekend. A lot of wrestling going on. Lots and lots of wrestling.
There's a lot of wrestling going on. It's wild.
It's so wild. And I just went to the NWA show last night. Not like the rap group, because they don't tour anymore, but like the actual wrestling group. Got to see Billy Corgan. It was kind of cool. Lots of stuff happened. But yeah, that's, like I said, that's the week in wrestling. Hound, anything you want to leave these lovely people with?
Well, folks, as always, thank you for listening, and thank you for giving us your most precious resource, your time. Be well, God bless, and just because it's one of my favorite sayings ever, love, peace, and chicken grease.
Yes. And with that, guys, remember, tuck your chin when you bump.